Hi and welcome to my channel. Today I'm doing a short review of the Magic Keyboard for the iPad Pro 12.9 inch, which I have right here. I used to have the Bridge Pro keyboard for the iPad Pro, but my needs are that I need to do that a lot of the time and take photos for my work. Put it back on and then type up notes. And I find this a lot easier to use than the Bridge Pro keyboard. The rubber hinges that keep the Bridge Pro in place are great, and it has a nice infinite screen where you can go flat, right up, right back to almost flat. It's Bluetooth 4.1 I believe, and it does occasionally miss a keyboard keystroke, which I found a bit on the annoying side, but apart from that it was very good. I used it for a year and then they announced the Magic Keyboard, and when I saw it I knew it was the answer to my problems. I ordered it on the day they became available to order and it was delivered a few days later. So far I have been very impressed. Yes, it's expensive. So first of all, first impressions are it's expensive. But it looks and it feels great. It gives you a good typing experience. The key movement is great. Certainly as good as my Apple Magic Keyboard that I've got down here. And the trackpad is just awesome. Now, just onto the basics. This is it in the open position. And that's it in its closed position with no iPad in place. That is as far back as that lower section will go. That is as far back as the top section will go. And this is what gives it the floating appearance. This just literally clips on. Now the beauty of this is I'm just holding this by the keyboard, by the iPad. The keyboard doesn't drop off. Not only that, I'm going to hold it by the keyboard and the iPad Pro does not fall off. So that is very good for starters. Now for reading, this is quite good. It actually feels quite comfortable just holding it that or that way round. It's not designed for it, but surprisingly it works really well. Now it only works properly with iOS 13.4.1. It doesn't work properly with iOS 13.4, so I discovered. So the viewing angle, that's the maximum tilt backwards, and you can do it right round to there where it thuds into place there. And for most of the time, for me, that is perfectly adequate. And then to shut it, clunk, click. To open it, pull it up, back. So straightforward, and this is already working. So as you will have seen on many other videos, the cursor changes, it highlights the icons, and when you want to go to writing, typing, let's go into a new note. Up there, it changes to well, it's actually still staying as a dot, but then you start typing and it's changed to a cursor. And then to get the cursor to come back, just touch it. I find it great. One of the big challenges I had was going between the MacBook Pro and my iPad. I kept on trying to use a trackpad on my iPad, and I kept on trying to touch the screen on my MacBook Pro. And I was swapping between them on a regular basis, even when work, because sometimes I have to take my laptop with me for work, sometimes I take my iPad, sometimes I have both, and using both on the same day, and it gets confusing. Now at least they're consistent in the sense that I use the trackpad on both of them, which is great. The iPad Pro is brilliant because it's also got touch, and most of my all my work apps are on the iPad Pro. I still have to use the MacBook Pro occasionally for various bits and pieces, but most of my work nowadays is done entirely on the iPad. That is why I have invested in the keyboard. As I said at the beginning, it's very expensive, but to me it's a business expense and it's worth every penny. I like the fact that it's got the smart connector, and you've got the smart connector on the back there, and as soon as it's connected it works, and you can just go around, zoom. So I just love the way the trackpad works brilliantly, and it's transformed it. It makes it a lot more like a proper computer. It's not a proper computer, and yes, it will not run any of the Mac OS apps, but most of the apps that are available for the iPad are very good. I use LumaVision for editing, I use Filmic Pro for filming, I use Ferrite for recording audio. The file system is great because you can now access that using the USB-C on the side here. Yes, this has the pass-through charging for USB-C on the actual keyboard. That can only deal with charging. It cannot do with data, but to be honest, that's not a problem. You plug it in there to keep it charged up, and then you can plug your peripherals into the side. I've got a couple of USB-C hubs, the Hyper one and just a basic one, which I use for downloading all my camera images when I'm shooting outside using my standard camera with an SD card. I just plug it in. Initial thoughts are it's very good. I like the feel. Some people say it's not very good, it's cheap. I'm quite happy with it. The Bridge Pro keyboard was aluminium. Yeah, that felt great. It was showing signs of wear after just under a year's worth of use, because, as I say, I use it a lot. I'm out on site, I'm filming with it, taking photos, taking videos, and I was having to go around a lot of the time with the keyboard attached while taking photos, which wasn't great. Now I can just take this off, take photos. The apps I use, they import them directly into them, or the app itself supports taking photos. There's no point in showing you my special work apps because they're dedicated to the particular companies I work for. There we have it, the Apple Magic Keyboard for the iPad Pro. This is the 12.9-inch version. It's great, and it really transforms the experience of using the iPad Pro. I'm really happy with my purchase, and I look forward to using it more when lockdown ends and I'm able to get out back to work and use it properly. But in the meantime, I've been using it at home, typing and using the trackpad, and just generally I find it's a lot easier. One thing I really like about the Magic Keyboard for the iPad Pro is the backlit keyboard. The light sensitivity changes automatically with the ambient sensor built into the iPad, but you can also change it using the iPad. So if you go into settings, general, and then keyboard, hardware keyboard, you can change the backlit brightness of the keyboard using that manually if you wish to do so. You can also modify the keys. I've changed the globe key to escape because lots of people seem to miss the escape key. I do occasionally. You can also change the trackpad settings, the trackpad speed, the natural scrolling direction, tap to click, and the two-finger secondary click. So it's set up how I like my MacBook Pro to be set up, so it's consistent across both machines, which is very helpful. Another thing I really like is not the way Apple probably designed it, but I do a bit of drawing. I'm a very amateur drawer, but I do occasionally make doodles and stuff. And drawing like this, it's not very easy. The screen wobbles a bit. It's not perfect. However, if we turn it upside down, that now is really nice and strong and firm. And you can draw quite nicely on there. So that's really nice touch. And it also gives you a little bit of privacy because the keyboard's locked that way. It might seem a bit odd, but hey, who cares? So if you're working on a desk, this gives you a nice firm place to work and draw. When you're finished, just push it down, shut the keyboard. And just to remind you which way up you're supposed to be opening it up, you've got this ridge here, you've got the camera cutout, and you have an Apple logo which is here. So you just lift it up and in you go. And with the bridge keyboard, I kept on having to take that off and use it at home however I wanted, and then I would be putting it back into the keyboard for when I was using it for work. But now I keep this on all the time and only take this off when I need to use it. During lockdown I've been making a lot of bread, and it's been great for having the recipes on screen. You can have this on the kitchen side and you can have your instructions whilst you're working. So okay, the bridge keyboard could do that as well, but the thing was, when I was around the house I didn't always have the bridge keyboard in place, but this one is so simple to connect and disconnect that it makes life so much easier. Plus I really like the design, and that is really cool. It reminds me of the iMacs with this sort of floating design. In fact, I have my screens here, similar sort of design, and these are two 24-inch Apple Cinema LED screens I bought a few years ago for use with my MacBook Pro. I really like them. But anyway, that's enough of that. So that's the Magic Keyboard for the iPad Pro. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll speak to you again soon. Thanks. Bye then.